Alright, so I kind of want to give like my quick thoughts of the beta of Diablo 4. I had a lot of fun with it. I only played one character, my sorcerer. I only got her to like 21 before the beta ended. I didn't have a lot of time to play because I had work Saturday. I'll have a lot more time this weekend to play it, but I had a lot of fun with it. I gotta say that it's very different. So I never played Diablo 3 on PC, but I'm gonna be mostly playing Diablo 4 on PC. When I would play Diablo 3, it was always on Xbox. So using a mouse and whatnot, it threw me off a bit. As a person who uses thumbsticks to move around and is used to like being able to move, look, and having a button to interact separate from your move is very different, and the fact that you couldn't like change that in the options is kind of dumb. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. I granted it's like franchise staple, I guess, but I feel like they could have allowed you to actually change, like you could change it, but you couldn't have your interact and your move be on the same button or things like that. And I already used up a majority of my buttons on my mouse for my skills and a few other things like my inventory and whatnot, just so I could it's a lot easier for me if I could have a majority of my buttons, like keyboard binds, be on my mouse, so I can kind of control a majority of it. But I thought the gameplay was pretty good. It felt way different from Diablo 3, not as snappy, much more slower, methodical. And like you could tell the difference in definitely how Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, like in terms of power between your characters between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, with how by the time I was like in this video, I was level 16 at the time, and level 16 in Diablo 4 feels vastly different than level 16 in Diablo 3. Whether that's a good or bad thing, it's still up in there. By the time you're level 16 in Diablo 3, you're deleting most mobs as a sorcerer, and it wasn't that much different with Diablo 4, but I feel like it was definitely toned down a bit more balanced. Granted, it could have been my build. I was going for more defensive skills anyways. But I feel like the story of Diablo 4, like the beginning act, it definitely hypes up, and seeing your character in cutscenes is definitely a bonus. Vastly different to Diablo 3, where everything wasn't really cutscene based, like the interactions, like talking to people. It was like headers with your image of your character, and that's it. Feel like the story is a bit more, it's better just because of the technology behind it. I wouldn't say the story is like crazy, like it draws you in, but it doesn't really have too much to it in terms of like substance. I feel like it lacks a bit story-wise compared to like Diablo 3, even though Diablo 3 had like no cutscenes really, besides like ones with like just before a giant boss fight, and it was literally just kind of showing them and them monologuing for a little bit and then yada yada. I feel like the story of Diablo 3 definitely is more memorable. It could just be the fact that I grew up with Diablo. Like Diablo 3 was the first Diablo 3 game I played, so it could be a big part of that. Is the reason why I'm like, oh, I like Diablo. Like the Diablo 3 story is a bit better than Diablo 4. And I don't know. I felt like the beta could have been more. I feel like since it's an open world, it felt weird just being told to turn back if you start going into an area that you're not supposed to be. Since it's like an open world Diablo in terms of like the map, you can travel from one area of the map to the next without really any blockades. But what it seems like, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to go to the other locations, even if you couldn't, like, if you couldn't do the story, that's fine. And maybe you only had waypoints in the other areas, like they took out the, like, there you couldn't access altars of Lilith or anything like that. That's fine. No side quests, no nothing, but you could at least go into the other areas and like kill that area mobs, maybe see some of the loot that drops there. Would be pretty cool. I'm awfully surprised they allowed you to see all the codex of powers and like where you can get a majority of the affixes from the codex of power. Like I have a whole database of it I'm working on for another video later this week. I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts out on the beta first. I plan to play Rogue for the open beta, and I should have this Saturday off so I can play more than I did of the closed beta. So I'm hoping I can kind of get a feel of a few characters, and I think the Necromancer and Druid. No, the Necromancer and Druid should be available. I think on the open beta. I think that's what's happening, unless it's still just gonna be the Barbarian, Rogue, and Sorcerer, which is fine. But I definitely had a lot of fun with it. I'm hoping that I watched Asmongold's video just before I left for my daughter's doctor's appointment, but about how he doesn't, if he has to do all the map stuff again, he won't want to do it. He doesn't see himself playing any seasons if that's the case, like more seasons, like if you have to collect all the renowned stuff, like all the altars of Lilith, all the waypoints. I don't think so. I mean, that's if they have like an adventure type mode, or like after you beat the main campaign with one character, you can choose between like a free explore for another character, and then you can like kind of like how Diablo 3 has an adventure mode. I think that would be good. That way you don't have to constantly do the whole map every time. But I have a feeling they might for this part of the season journey, you know, collect all the altar Liliths, but like maybe they're in a different spot than they normally are. I still feel like that's excessive, and I think Asmongold is right about that. That it would suck to do that every season, and it would definitely wear on a person, especially if you do multiple characters per season. Like I plan to play this a lot, as long as I find enjoyment in it. Also depends on how different the game's gonna be from the beta to like the full release in June. Is it June? Yeah, June 6th. Other than that, I felt like the beta was definitely good. It gave a lot of insight into stuff. The queue times were long. I mean, it's a beta. It makes sense. They're testing the servers. Gain some feedback on character builds. Yeah. Making everything kosher. But I definitely feel like it's definitely the open the MMO aspects of it, like the open world and the map and seeing other players kind of walk around is cool. I really wish there was a way you could play offline. Well, not, well, like maybe offline is the right thing to think, or at least where you can turn off the interactivity between other like players. Like you won't see other players on the map unless you chose that. That way you could pause the game. It's definitely, as a person who has kids and has to step away, well, you know, you fucking gotta take a shit. You can't pause the game. Either you have to finish that area, and like the thing is, like if you take maybe like more than 10-15 minutes, the enemies will respawn in that area because there's other players around, which would suck. I died a few times because of that, having to step away and then enemies respawning because other players entered the area, or they just have a timer of like maybe 10 to like 5 to 10 minutes before enemies respawn, or like 15 minutes. But it definitely sucks not being able to pause. Like I get it, you know, it's a online game, it's a seasonal game, like they don't have you on it constantly, but I just feel like they could have definitely made it to where you could pause it. I don't see why you couldn't. Or at least enter like a AFK mode, that if you're out of combat you can enter like a AFK impassibility mode or something, but you can only be in that mode for like 15 minutes, and you can't move from your spot. I know you could just, and now that I think about it, I know you could just teleport to town, but it's still kind of like, still sucks that you can't just pause where you're at and then go from there. It just kind of sucks, but overall I enjoyed the beta a lot, and I plan to play it more, and look forward for more videos of Diablo 4 content. I plan to do a few affix related videos and gem related video, just going over like the stats and what to look for in terms of you know, everything. Other than that, thank you guys for watching this. I'll catch you guys next time.